What's up, everybody? This is Joel Joey Bakes, and I am just giving you my Battlefield 6 Season 2 review and recap. Season 2 dropped yesterday on the 17th. I had the pleasure of playing the new Contaminated map. I did have a chance to play all of the different game modes and everything like that, and it's pretty fly. You know, I have some pros, I have some cons. I didn't get to test out all the weapons like I wanted. I'm not a tryhard, so I'm not finna pay for the weapons. I'm gonna unlock them like a real man. So as soon as I unlock those, I'll give some updates with that. But first and foremost, let's dive in. So the Contaminated map. I'll go through the pros first, just because there's a lot more pros than there are cons. So some of the pros are it is a big map. Maybe not as big as other Battlefield titles, but it is a pretty decent sized map. There's a lot of cover. What I like about it is it brings back that Battlefield feel. You know, it brings back that large scale combat feel. You don't know what's going on at Point Charlie. You don't know what's going on at Echo. You know, at one spot, people will be fighting over control of an underground bunker. In one spot, they're fighting over the outside landscape, or they're fighting in a little village or a villa, or whatever the case is. But overall, very cool map. You know, very open. The trees and the scenery is a nice switch up to what the previous maps are. You know, in season 1 they dropped like that Hollywood map. I like that map a lot. A lot of people, they don't like it, but I like that map a lot. And then they dropped the Badlands, or I forget the exact name of it, but that oil derrick map. And I really like that map a lot. You know, but this new Contaminated map does bring a fresh vibe. It brings a fresh feel to Battlefield. You know, it's open, like I said. It's tons and tons and tons of cover. You know, you can duck, you can shoot, you can run. One of the things I don't like about it, although it's open, I feel like it's unbalanced as a map. And what I mean by that is maybe they need to switch up where the starting points are, you know, for each team. Just because what I've noticed in all of my different playthroughs, and I played all the different game modes, is whoever has control of that rocky hill area, they're gonna win the game. You know, hands down. I like to call that map Snipe City, because there's a lot of campers in the hills and in the mountains sniping. There's a lot of campers sitting down with the LMG and the bipod and the giant scope, just tucked in between the rocks, just letting off shots round after round. So at some points, especially if you're a new player, it'll feel like as soon as you spawn in, you get shot from the left. As soon as you spawn in, you get blasted from the right. You know, you have tanks. The tanks really can't camp too much, but you have tanks popping up out of nowhere blasting you. And it all adds to that Battlefield 6 element. You know, you really feel like you're in the war zone. This, with the updated game mechanics, with the movement speed and the turning speed and some of the things like the sliding that they've kind of changed up, you have to move a little bit smarter. You have to move a little bit more careful, and you have to be very conscious of what's going on around you. I highly recommend do not jump in solo like I did. What I've noticed as well is on that map, it forces you to play with a squad. And what I mean by that is, you know, I'll light somebody up, and then I'll get lit up. I'm dead, right? And I look on the mini map, and there's a squad of 4. They run together. And, you know, that's a huge pro for me. You know, personally, like if you're playing with a squad, or if you're playing with a team or a unit or something like that, you will have an advantage on the new Contaminated map. If you are playing solo, it's going to be very hard, especially if you're playing solo with people who don't have like microphones, or who don't communicate, or who don't try to capture the points together. It's going to be difficult because the way that map is set up, the points are so spread apart. You know, Delta's all the way to the left, or you know, and then everything else is kind of to the side. If you're not squatted up, and if you're not communicating, you will lose. Another thing about the Contaminated map, what I've noticed is and maybe I can't even say it now because I'm starting to like it, but on Conquest and on Escalation, that map is brutal. It is tough. Escalation specifically, that was the first game mode that they threw me in when I first tested it out, and they threw me into the middle of a game, and our team was getting clapped, and it was brutal. You know, I couldn't get a feel for it. I'm looking around, I'm looking up, I'm looking down, and I'm getting shot from everywhere. I think shoot, I think I died like 5 or 6 times back to back before I even got my first kill, and it was brutal. Same with Conquest. It gives you that large scale feel. It's cool, but it's brutal. Now, what I've noticed is on Breakthrough, that's the mode that you really want to start off on, because what it does is it gives you the points. And like what I mean by that is on Breakthrough, you start all the way at Alpha and they take you all the way to Frank, to F, or whatever they call F. They take you from A all the way to F. And like you get a feel for the map, you get a feel for the cover, you get a feel for how it's generally supposed to be played. So like in Breakthrough, I actually ended up doing relatively well, and even attacking and defending. Breakthrough is Breakthrough was pretty fun, and I'm not a Breakthrough person. I'm Conquest and I'm Escalation all day. But Breakthrough was extremely fun. I definitely want to explore it on some of the other maps once I get out of this season 2 hype. But that's the contaminated map. Like I said, the pros are it's clean, it's lush, it has a lot of space, it gives you that old school Battlefield feel. You are in complete chaos. I can't explain it. You have to just jump in and play it. Complete chaos. In Breakthrough, it's a little bit more linear, and you're forced to work as a squad because you're so close. And like the way they have the cover set up, if you utilize the cover like you would in Breakthrough, in Conquest or Escalation, then you'll be okay. But overall, really cool map. I really like how the design is. I really like the way you can fight between the different scenes and settings. It's like a whole bunch of little maps combined into one. So like, I'm super excited for the other maps that are supposed to be dropping for season 2. But that is the contaminated map. The second thing I wanted to touch on was the gas mode. So, it's cool. Actually, it's pretty fly. Like the effects are cool, the look is cool. When you don't have your gas mask on, and I was testing it out, what would it be like whenever you don't have your gas mask on? It is kind of freaky. It fits the game. It kind of sucks that it's only going to be a limited time. And really what I think they should do is incorporate that into all the different game modes. Maybe some maps you have to worry about that gas popping up, because it does add an element that is or even it adds a different element. Now it's kind of gimmicky, but it adds a different element. Like I said, the effects and stuff like that are cool. Maybe if they don't incorporate like a contaminated zone, if they'll turn that into like a gas grenade or something. Don't y'all miss the gas grenades from Battlefield 1? You gotta throw on your mask, you can't hear nothing, you're ducking and you're diving, you're shooting and you're looting. That's kind of what I miss. The other thing I really wanted to touch on was the weapons and the gadgets. Like I said, I haven't had too much time to explore those. I tried the new DMR. That thing is fire. It pops, it's quick, you can with the and I'm using the elite control, so I have the extra sensitive trigger finger. It snaps them quick. Honestly, I feel like it's OP, and they probably will they'll probably nerf it, but from where it sits now, like that thing is fire. I tried the new rocket launcher. Every time I pull that bad boy out, I got lit up. That's just how chaotic the contaminated map was. That's the only map I've been playing. But other than that, it shows promise. It locks on quick, and I've been seeing videos and reviews of it blowing up different things. I haven't tried the new assault rifle yet, just because I haven't unlocked it yet. But as soon as I unlock it, as soon as I try it, I'm an assault class person. I'm an engineer class person. So as soon as I unlock it, I will be busting those bad boys out. Other than that, the Little Bird, I fly, but I'm not too much of a pilot fan. I will take some time and jump in there, fly around and pop things up. But really what I wanted to do was go over season 2 as a whole. So just as a recap, it's cool. I like it. The trailer showed a lot of promise. What I don't like is I don't feel like it's enough. I feel like, even now, I feel like within a week, we'll get bored of the new map. I got bored of it, last night, and I wanted to play like regular Conquest and kind of switch it up and kind of get some other maps in the rotation. And everybody was cheesing the contaminated map. When I jumped into the Conquest lobby, it was nothing but like 3 people and some bots. I was like, let me get out of this. I can't play this, but everybody's on it now. It's new, it's fresh. We're testing out our different guns. We're testing out, different things. We're flying. We're doing all this cool stuff. But I feel like 2 maps in a season is not enough. Yeah, we're only in phase 1. Yeah, they're gonna sneak in Gulman Railway, which is one of my favorites from Battlefield 4. But 2 maps isn't enough. It's I remember the good old days where each I can't even call it a season. Each drop you'll get 4 or 5 maps. Like in Battlefield 4, they had naval combat. They had the Siege of Shanghai, or not the Siege of Shanghai, but they had like that the North Korean map. Where they had the statue and everything like that. The dragon map, the giant boat map. Like you just had a little bit more, and that's kind of what I miss. Overall, gameplay wise, mechanically, it's fun. It's Battlefield. It's gonna be fun. I'm not one of those people. Battlefield and Call of Duty better. Nah, it's fun. I get in there. I run up. I get done up. Some games I do extremely well. Some games I do terribly. But overall, it's a fun experience. I look forward to what they're gonna do in phase 2 and phase 3 of season 2. And as they roll those bad boys out, I will be giving updates. Hopefully by then I will have had some of the other weapons and the other gadgets unlocked. But I'm really excited as to what they have going on in the future. Just keep in mind, I do have some of the material and the content like that up there. I am live streaming it. There's a few other points that I didn't touch on. If there's something that I missed, please drop it in the comments. Also, I want to know, what do you think about Battlefield Season 2? Is it a hit? Is it a miss? Is it Is it all right? Do you think people will get bored? What do you think about how the map is? What do you think about the contaminated map? What do you think about the weapons? What do you think about the Little Bird? How many kills have you racked up in the Little Bird? Is it a positive experience? Is it cool? Is it a good vibe, or is it whack? Would you jump back to another game as soon as all the hype and all the phase is down? One thing I will be testing out this week, and I haven't tested it out yet, but I'll maybe drop some videos on it or stream it or something like that, is the Red Seg with the VL7 gas. Now that is where that gas belongs. That is going to make for some interesting Red Seg and Gauntlet battles. It's gonna definitely switch things up. And kind of change up how people run around the Red Seg map, and how people operate and how they plan to stay within the circle and stay confined. That's definitely going to change things up. But overall, what do you think about it? I like it. Like I said, if I had to rate it out of 10, I say about a 7. And once again, I haven't unlocked all the other guns. I haven't had a chance to test out everything, but what I played so far, it's good. The map is cool. Once I get a feel for it, then it could get better. It could turn into an 8. It could turn into a 9. But we'll just see. That's all I really have to say about it. I'm about to jump back in, and I'm pointing outside. I'm about to jump back in the room and get on the control and probably get on the stream and play the game a little bit. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a great day. I appreciate all the love I've been getting on the channel so far. Let's just get it.